All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Now let's start our class for today. This one, okay. So now let's start class for today. So previously we talked about hmm? So previously we talked about types of SNR, introduction to SNR, and also storyline formation, right? So for today, we'll be talking about, we're still on the storyline topic because this week is for storylines. According to our outline, this week is for storyline. So we are still on storylines topic. So today we'll be talking about, um, so today we'll be talking about using multiple time frame storyline, using multiple time frame storyline, right? As well as, we'll be talking about using multiple time frame storyline, as well as what counters and roadblock or obstacle. Yeah. So this is what we're going to be talking about for today. Let me type it properly. Let me quickly type it properly. So it's going to properly type. Okay. So let me type it properly. Let me type in storyline, montage, trend, and please mute yourselves. So this is okay, so this is what we'll be looking at for today. Using multiple time frame storylines, right? Using multiple time frame storylines and counter trend and pro trend, obstacles and roadblock. This is what we'll be looking at for today. So please, who joined should mute yourself, please. Can you guys hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay, someone said audio is not audible. Someone said it's not audible. So I was wondering. All right. I wasn't saying anything before. I was typing. So maybe that's why you didn't hear me. All right, so let's start. So using multiple time frame storylines. Let's say, for instance, in a case where the weekly is bullish, right? And the daily is bearish. Now, how do you handle this situation? Two time frames, different storylines. The weekly storyline is bullish, daily storyline is bearish. How do you handle this situation? So this is a question most people will ask, like, which time frame storyline do you respect? Which time frame storyline do you follow? Which time frame should I follow? So let's say you have your daily zone, right? Price does what? Daily reject the daily. Down on the 4 hours, you had your breakout, confirming you to be what? Daily bullish. But the weekly had previously been bearish, and it has been bearish since forever. The weekly has been bearish, right? And then the daily just turned bullish. So people ask, like, do you respect the weekly storyline or you respect the daily storyline? Yes, the daily and the weekly storyline are on opposite side in this case, and the weekly is stronger than the daily, right? Weekly is stronger than the daily. But before price would deal with the weekly storyline, price has to what? Finish the daily storyline. So until price finishes the daily, price won't attend to the weekly. So if the weekly is bearish, the daily turns bullish, right? Price would finish up the daily bullish storyline, hit a daily resistance, turns bearish, and sell off. Then what? Daily storyline and weekly storyline would be on the same page once again, right? So except price is reacting from a weekly level that has a daily in it, right? The weekly level that has a daily in it, you don't expect that daily to end the weekly storyline. So let me explain better. Let me give you a better diagram for this. So let's say this is a support, right? Let's say this is a buy sell support, right? A sell buy, sorry. Bearish. Okay. So this is a sell buy support, and this is our level. Yeah, this is a sell buy support, right? And this is the weekly. This was a weekly. Let's say it's a weekly. Okay, let us say it's a weekly support right here, right? And this same line, this exact same line, or inside this place, at this level, or inside it, we happen to have what? A daily. Let's say we have a daily, whatever. Let's just say a daily open close, bullish open close is inside there, inside that same area, or on the same level. We had a daily. I call this zone. What do I call this? Right. Okay. Now we had this. We had this, right? We had this. So daily we had this same area as the weekly, same weekly area, weekly and daily, same area or inside of the daily. Now the weekly, if price taps on this weekly like this and rejects, right? Now remember, price has to reject and close as a rejection for you to confirm your storyline. And the weekly candle takes 5 days to close. 5 days, right? Weekly candle, you need to wait for 5 days. Now, you can't sit there waiting for 5 days for the candle to close. No. But so you can work with the daily storyline. Like if the weekly hasn't changed, but then daily storyline changed, price rejects from the daily and does a 4-hour breakout, you could start taking your buys in anticipation that what? By the end of the week, the weekly must have rejected and broken out on daily as well. Right? Now, both storylines turns bullish. Both storylines become bullish. But let's say there was no weekly support. No weekly support here. Weekly storyline was bearish. And you encountered a daily support only, starting a daily bullish storyline. What price most likely would do is what? Use this weekly support. This daily support level, right? Use this daily support level to turn price bullish so that price can buy all the way to what? A daily resistance area, reject, and what? Turn bearish again. Turn bearish again to align with the weekly. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm making sense. Am I making sense? Right? Except if we have a weekly on that same level, you don't expect the daily storyline to what change the weekly. So I think we should go to chart so I can show you guys chart examples. Maybe by the time you watch the video over and over again, it should start making sense. Let's go to the chart so we can see some live chart examples. Let's go to the daily time frame. Or the weekly time frame, even better. Let's go to the weekly time frame. And let's go back in time. All right, let's go back in time to here. Let's mark this out. This is what a weekly resistance, right? Can you guys see this? This is what? A buy, then a sell. A formation, right? Weekly A formation resistance. Right? You guys can see. This is a weekly A formation resistance, a buy, then a sell. Price taps, and what do? Price rejects. Now, before price got to this resistance, price was bullish, right? The weekly was bullish because we had what? Left shoulder, right? Price creates this left shoulder. Then this candle right here, weekly rejects weekly left shoulder. Let's go down to the daily and see if we got a breakout of our last what? Higher low. Okay. So this was what? Our last what? A formation resistance. Buy, sell. Let's look at this was our last A formation before we tapped our weekly level, right? And price what? Broke this A formation with a body close, confirming that we are what? Weekly bullish, right? Confirming the weekly bullish storyline. So weekly storyline is what? Full-fledged bullish at this point, right? Weekly storyline at this point, we are what? Full-fledged bullish. Now that the weekly storyline is full-fledged bullish, right? Price is buying now. And we are full-fledged bullish. How do you trade the daily? How do you trade the daily? Because if you watch properly, the daily reacted off of here and started a bearish storyline from here. Daily started the bearish storyline from here. Right? So now this bearish storyline, what did it do? Weekly is bullish. Daily is bearish. In this case, weekly bullish, right? The weekly bullishness has started from here. Daily is what? Bearish from here. Now, because if I go down to the 4-hour time frame, definitely I'll find a breakout from here. I'll find the breakout definitely on the 4-hour time frame. So weekly is bullish, daily is bearish. So what do we do in this case, right? You will be selling on the daily, riding the daily storyline, because what? The daily storyline has to finish and then change to align with the weekly for us to what? Trade the weekly storyline. So for now, we will be trading what? The daily storyline. So weekly is bullish, daily is bearish, right? So daily sells down into the open close, rejects, starts what? Reject and starts what? A bullish storyline. Obviously, on the 4-hour time frame, there was a breakout. If I should check, you would see that there was a breakout. I just don't want to switch time frames a lot, but let me show you. Let me show you. Okay. As you can see, this was the last A formation before price tapped our support and price broke out from here. We had our breakout from, I think, here. Now, storyline breakout is different from market structure breakout. I'll teach you how to combine both storyline and market structure for direction and everything. They are both different, right? I'll teach you that, but this is just pure storyline. I don't want to involve market structure in it. Before some people say, I thought the break is from the week. So when you're talking about storyline, you break is from the body, not the week, right? Not the week. Break is from the body. So you can see here, we've broken above this A formation. The last one that was formed before price taps here, before price taps are daily, price has broken it, right? So once this happens, right, the daily confirms bullish storyline. Now, price buys all the way, price buys all the way from there. We move all the way to what? To where? This area here. Weekly level, daily level. Now you can see we have the daily and the weekly on the same level. But if you want to wait for the weekly rejection, you have to wait for 5 days for the weekly candle to close so that you can confirm your rejection, which, before you wait 5 days, price must have what? Done almost all the move, right? Price have done almost all the move. So how do? You have two options. Either you take straight up entry here without storyline forming, no nothing, just enter. And this is the kind of entries I like to take, the kind of entries I take because what? Market structure. I must have seen the structure, right? I must have seen the structure and choose my entry point inside that area with the confluence. Now, this is it. I'll be entering this trade with the confluence that we are what? We are in a daily bullish storyline, daily, weekly. What do I say? Okay, we're in a daily bullish storyline, weekly bullish storyline. I'm sorry for mixing it up. Daily bullish storyline, weekly bullish storyline, and we are inside of what? A daily level and a weekly level that could potentially turn price around. And that is what I'll be doing, taking this trade in anticipation that what? Price turns around. You understand me? So yeah. And I'll be taking this trade. Why will I be taking this trade? I'll be taking this trade because what? We have what? A break of structure. If you're talking about the market structure, I'll be taking it because I have the break of structure and a liquidity. You can see this high and my liquidity. Then after my liquidity, yeah, and I can enter off of the daily and weekly level, which is here. Enter off the daily and weekly level. For this reasoning, market structure reasoning, I can take straight up entries without waiting for the storyline, and then I'll anticipate the storyline to start. But if you want to wait, then when the storyline starts, it will confirm my direction. This is why I said most times storyline for me is mostly used as confluence for the direction because the market structure is already enough. But storyline would help me say, okay, you are right, because a bearish storyline have started after you started selling. A bearish storyline started, which means what? Price is going to sell off harder. So, but if we're keeping it just storyline, you have 3 options on how you can take your entry. Either you wait for the weekly storyline to start, right? But that's going to take a very long time. The entire move might be done before the weekly storyline even starts, right? Or you wait for a daily storyline to start. Now, which one do you choose? Wait for a daily or wait for a weekly? So let's say we decided to enter off the daily storyline because, of course, you need to enter off what? Daily storyline starting first because the daily storyline will start before the weekly starts. We have daily and weekly here, daily zone and weekly zone on this one level, right? If the weekly is going to take 5 days to close, within that 5 days, the daily would have printed 5 candles. And within that 5 candles, daily would have started a bearish storyline even before the weekly. So you can enter off on the daily bearish storyline, anticipation that what the weekly starts later on. So if you want to do that, what you would do is what? This is what? Daily reject daily, right? This candle, daily reject daily. You go down to the 4-hour and check on the 4-hour time frame. You check if there was what? A breakout. And your breakout, if you're looking at the breakout, we'll be looking at what? The last V formation formed before price taps our level, which is here. This was the last V formation formed before price taps the zone. This was the last V formation price formed before tapping that zone. So this would have been your storyline area for your sales. This would be your storyline area for where you consider your breakout for you to start your storyline and sell. This would be the zone you consider to be your breakout, right? Now, the daily storyline has started now. So what do? You sell. Since daily storyline has started, you start selling. And that's how you have your direction, because now it's clear that, you know what, we are bearish, daily storyline has started, so we can, sell. And the break of the V formation or the A formation one time frame below doesn't have to be the same day or the same week. Like, price can reject on this day and doesn't break, but break the next day. Once it breaks, the storyline starts, right? Except price rejects from another support, then the last A formation touched before price breaks that support. I don't know if you guys are getting me, but let me look for a perfect example for you. Okay, this would be a perfect example. We have this daily open close, buy, open close, right? Price taps it. We reject on this candle, this pin bar formation. Price rejects this area here. So we go to a lower time frame, 4-hour time frame. And if you look properly, if you check properly, price didn't break here. Price didn't break here the same day it tapped. I don't think it did, because if we check this tapped on Thursday, right? And then we broke out on Friday. So price broke out of this area the next day. But if you have eyes and you're flexible with storyline, right? This is what you would have done instead. This is what you would have done instead, right? Price at the same time rejected this one. If you have eyes and you are seeing, there was what? A resistance break becomes support that got rejected. Then if price breaks that one, right, the last A formation before price rejected this new level, if price breaks it, it should start what? The storyline, right? So this was, I think, the level price used in rejecting that. Okay, this was level. So price breaking here, we'll start a new bullish storyline for you with price breaking here, because what, there was a support here that got rejected, and once price breaks here, a new storyline starts. I don't know if you guys understand. I believe when you watch the video again, you will understand better. So this is how you use 2 time frame storylines together, right? You wait for the daily to align with the weekly, right? You use them together, weekly and daily aligns, then you trade. Now, you see price fall from here all the way. Now, by the next day, or the next week rather, we already had our weekly reject weekly completed. Weekly had rejected weekly by the end of the week. And if you check on the daily, there was what? A daily breakout from here, which suggested weekly. There was a daily breakout from there, right? Which suggested what? Daily bearish, weekly bearish. So what? Sell down. So now we sell, but the weekly, we hit a weekly support down here. Same logic again. You have three options on how you can enter this. Wait for weekly bearish storyline to end by a bullish one starting from here, or you wait, or you what? You scale down to the daily, wait for the daily to start a bullish storyline, and then you ride it in anticipation that the weekly storyline will start, right? Or you take a straight off entry using market structure and anticipate that both daily and both weekly storyline will start, which is the type I like. But you only do that when you understand market structure properly. Now let's start from the first option, right? Let's start from the first option. Now, price sells all the way down here, and you want to take your entry. So what do? There was a downtrend right here. Right? There was a downtrend from here. Let's look at this. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, a lower low, and a break. So this is it. All right? So price breaks what? Structure from here. Break the last lower high, right? Gave us liquidity. All right? Gave us liquidity. Then we had what? Daily and weekly level just below. So once price taps it, you could buy immediately. You could buy from there. And what? You can start buying because you know why you are buying. You know why you're taking this buy. And then you can anticipate that, okay, let's see if a bullish storyline starts. And once a bullish storyline starts, it becomes your confirmation that what? This buy would last, right? So that's it. It becomes a confirmation that what? The buy would last, right? So that's it. But if we decide to wait for what? The daily storyline, then you have to go down this route of daily, reject daily, down on the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, you'll be looking at on the 4-hour time frame, looking at price to break out from here. Which imagine you'd miss out on all this move and you have to get in the move after this. So this is why I like taking, straight up entries and anticipate the storyline starting, because of course I already understand the market structure, which is why I infused market structure into my storyline, because it would help you avoid being on the wrong storyline, knowing why a storyline should start, when it should end, right? You would understand everything about storylines and not just enter from any storyline that starts, you jump in, you feel me? So market structure and liquidity is actually very important, but understanding the storyline too is also important to know that, all right, this storyline starting simply means that price is in strong agreement of my direction. I said something that if a 4-hour level breaks, it's really strong confirmation. So price breaking a 4-hour level and I'm like breaking the 4-hour level in the sense of starting a bullish storyline is an indication of strong bullishness, really strong bullishness, and price would buy. It's an indication. So if I already have an entry here, right? And then price breaks my last A formation, it's telling me that, you know what, there will be strong bullishness and you should hold on to your buys, because what, price is really going to go higher and higher. So that's the thing with what storylines. So now let's talk about counters and roadblock. Now, like I said before, right? A counter simply means trading against the storyline of the market, which means if the daily storyline is bullish, and I'm selling without price reaching any daily level, or even if price reaches a daily level, but but no storyline started yet. Like if this trade, let me see, the daily, the daily has been bearish from here, right? Never turned bullish. It's been bearish from there and only continued with more bearishness because we started a bearish storyline there and even more bearish storyline from this left shoulder and also this left shoulder. Price was continued giving us bearish storyline from all these levels. No bullish storyline started. And then all of a sudden, I'm buying from here. I'm opposing the storyline now, right? But for a reason. And in this case, I'm opposing it because what? I'm anticipating the start of a new one. And why am I anticipating the start of a new one? It's because of I have my market structure all agreeing with me, right? The market structure and liquidities are agreeing with what price has to turn around. So I'm anticipating that what? Our daily and our weekly should start a new storyline, go up and clear more liquidities out, right? So this is a counter trade. And now there are two types of counter trades. I'll say there are two types of counter trades. The first type of counter is the kind of counter that you are selling while price is bullish. You are selling just because you want to catch a temporary move, right? That's the first type. I'm selling, price is bullish, but I'm selling because I want to catch a temporary move that can what? Clear out some liquidities before price buys again. And the second kind of counter is like, let's say price is bullish, is buying, and I'm selling with the intention of what? Price starting a bearish storyline and ending the bullish move totally. And you know what? Going down to hell. You understand? Or vice versa, price is bearish and I'm buying with the intention of what? Price just clearing out some liquidities and going back selling. Or second type is price is bullish or I mean bearish and I'm buying with the intention of price what? Changing the storyline both daily and weekly. So 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 in this case, right, this is a daily time frame. In this case, daily storyline you counter from what? The 4 hour level, right? You counter from the 4 hour level. Now, if you are anticipating a change of storyline, like I said, you know that the storyline doesn't start without a level on that particular time frame you want to say start on. Like if you have a daily level, I mean a daily storyline, a, a daily bullish storyline, a bearish one can't start if there is no daily resistance. We have to have a daily reject the daily. So if you want to take a counter trade in anticipation to change the storyline, it simply means that even if you are going to have a 4 hour level, that 4 hour level must be inside the daily, right? But if you're not trading to change the storyline, your 4 hour level could be not inside the daily, it could be in a daily, it could be not inside the daily. Everything depends on the market structure, the structure you saw, and the liquidities you saw that made you want to sell or buy. Everything depends on that, right? So if I'm taking this trade in anticipation that price changes the daily storyline. If I'm taking this trade in anticipation to change the daily storyline, it's because there's a daily level here. Also anticipating to change the weekly storyline because this daily level is also what? A weekly level. So it's possible to start a bullish storyline from there. There's also a weekly level right there. So it's possible to start what? A bullish storyline from there. So starting a bullish storyline from there is possible, right? So if there was no bullish storyline, I mean, if there was no daily level there, right, it would be temporal buys. I'll be taking it for, temporal buys. Price could what? Buy for a while and change storyline later, right? So if I buy from a 4 hour level, that's here. Now, this is what roadblocks are. Obstacles, right? This is obstacles. Now, if I buy, right, from the 4-hour level here, let's just see. This is just an example. This is just an example. If I'm taking the trade from this 4-hour level right here, let's check the daily. Okay, from this 4-hour level right here, at least this 4-hour level is inside the daily. I need a level that's not inside the daily, not inside the daily for this. Um, okay, perfect. We have something from here. Let's mark this and go down to the former time frame. Okay, if I want to take a trade from this 4-hour level, this 4-hour level right here, right? If I want to trade from this 4-hour level, this level right here, which this whole buy move came from, right? If I check, this 4-hour is providing what? A retracement move, but it's not inside the daily. The daily we have is down here. Price is reacting from this 4-hour. Right? Why? Now, this 4-hour cannot start a bullish storyline. It can only lead price to retrace, buy for a while and what? Change the storyline back. It can't start a bullish storyline. I don't know if you guys are understanding what I'm saying. It can't start a bullish storyline because I can't take this particular kind of trade in anticipation that the storyline starts. No. If I want to take a trade in anticipation that price will start a storyline, I'll be taking from what? A level that's inside the daily, right? And everything has to what? Align with the market structure, which we are going to go into next week. Market structure, we'll go into that next week. So hope you guys are understanding the class. If you have a question, you can ask.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, can you please define how can we identify a level within an inside level? What you just mentioned before.
Please, your voice is not loud. I couldn't hear you clearly. Please, can you come again?
Yeah. Can you please define uh, how we can identify a level within that daily level? What you spoke just now, no?
Yes. How we can identify a 4-hour level
Yeah,
within the
how I
daily.
can identify that thing like
Your question isn't clear enough. I think, but let me end the session. I'll send a new link so we can all join again.
okay, okay.
All right, let's continue. So I saw the questions being asked, and someone says I should explain the storyline that played out for the NFP trade, right? And someone else says, how do I define a level that's inside of a daily? Now, okay, so if you have your SNR level, right, for the question of how to define the level inside the daily or inside any time frame, right? If you have your SNR, and let's say your SNR level is this line, I put right here. If this line is your daily level, if this line is your daily level, if this line here is your daily level, right? Any if you go to a lower time frame, right? Like of a 4-hour time frame, any level on the 4-hour time frame that is at this same level as this daily or below it if it's a support, right? Or below it is inside the daily. Anyone above this level is outside this daily level, right? And if it's a resistance, we'll be dealing with any level at this level or above this level is inside it. Anyone below it is outside it, right? I hope you're getting it now. So let me show you an example on the chart.
Yes, clear.
Let me show you an example on the chart. So this is a perfect example, right? This is a perfect one. This is a perfect one. So if you can see this level here, this level here, this is a daily support, right? A buy sell support. If you put yeah, this is what sell buy support, the V formation, right? So we have this V formation, sell buy support on the daily, which is also what on the weekly, it's a weekly open close level. On the weekly, it's an open close level. On the daily, on the weekly, it's open close. On the daily, it's what? It's buy sell, right? So now inside of this daily level, right? Because what I want to see is what a level that's at that level or below it now. Now inside of this daily support now, we have inside it, we had a 4-hour level that's just at the same level as that. As you can see, we have this 4-hour what sell buy support at the same level as the daily. And also what another level inside it, which is what if you refine down to the okay, then we had this level inside it. You see, inside it. So we had this one on the same level and this one inside the daily. Hope you understand it now. Now, if I'm taking a buy from this level, if I'm taking a buy from this level right here, I could be buying here with structure confluence and I take this buy in anticipation that what a storyline starts because what we are inside the daily. I'm taking this buy in anticipation that what at the end of the day, price would end up rejecting the daily, will close above the daily resistance, I mean the daily support, and what there will be a 4-hour breakout, and what price would what start a bullish storyline. Yeah, so that's how it works. So previously, before price got here, no, 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 no. Okay. So before price got here, we were in a bearish storyline on the daily, right? Daily bearish storyline. Let me show you. I think we were in a daily bearish storyline. Yeah. Before price got here, we were in a daily bearish storyline. Now, who can tell me where we had the bearish storyline from? Who can tell me? Looking at our chart and what you've learned so far with storylines, who can tell me where we had a daily bearish storyline? No, no, no. Where did we have a daily reject daily resistance? All right, let me tell you guys. Please, can you clear off your annotation? Let me tell you guys. Okay. So here we have right here a buy and a sell, right? A formation. And like I said before, when price creates an A formation and you expect price to what sell right there, but price what breaks it, you expect that A formation to become what a support break become what? I mean, a resistance break become what support, right? If price breaks it again, it becomes what a left shoulder. So this is what a left shoulder. Like I said in the previous class, price doesn't have to tap sniper on your level for it a storyline to confirm. Price just has to reject it. Like if it's a resistance, price has to close below it. If it's a support, price has to close above it, right? So right here we had what? A left shoulder, and this candle you can see right here taps and what rejects close below the left shoulder. So with this candle closing below the left shoulder, what do we have next? We have to go to the lower time frame and look for what? A break of the last V formation before price taps. And what was the last V formation? This area. Price breaks it, confirms our what? Bearish storyline. Now we have our bearish storyline confirmed, right? Price sold all the way to what? The daily level. So what we have now is what price is now inside a daily support after starting a bearish storyline. We are inside a daily support now. So now this taking a buy would be what counter trend, right? But you could buy from this 4-hour support. You could buy from this 4-hour support in anticipation now that what the bullish storyline would start. And why would you want to see a bullish storyline start? That would be something that market structure would teach you. If you have what market structure, you know that okay, liquidities have been grabbed and price should what buy. That was something that market structure will teach you. So if you take a buy from here now, what you expect is what price to what reject and close. So if it rejects and close above the daily support, like as you can see here, we end up rejecting and closing above our daily support. Now that price closed above the daily support, what do we need next? After price closes above the daily support, we need to see what a 4-hour breakout, which we had. And what's our breakout? The last what A formation before price taps on our support, which we had it right here. Which we had it right here. Price broke out of the last A formation price gave us before tapping into our support. Now that we had that, after the break, price, you can see how price pulls back, comes back into somewhere down here and gave what more buys all the way, and the storyline became bullish. Now if you look carefully, you would see that on the weekly we also had what a weekly reject weekly, because remember that daily level is on the same area as the weekly, so we had a weekly reject weekly as well. And then what did price do? We also broke out of what the last daily level. Last daily level, this level, the last daily A formation that was created before price taps our weekly, we also broke out. So meaning what? Daily bullish, weekly bullish as well. So now we have the both storyline bullish. So buys will be what? Very dominant, right? Buys will be very dominant. Now, since buys were very dominant, why did I sell? Because my major trade this week was a sell. This sell move down here. Why did I take sells? If I want to explain to you guys. Now, this is where counter trade comes in. This is where counter trade comes in. Now, I'm taking this counter sell, not because I want to change the storyline, but because I wanted to clear out a particular liquidities that after they're cleared out, price would what? Turn back and follow the original direction. You feel me? So now this is how the NFP stuff played out. So now we already know the storyline now. We have the bullish storyline from here, bullish storyline daily, bullish storyline weekly, right? That's cleared out. So now we have our storylines. We are all bullish, right? So now I'm on the 4-hour time frame and I'm taking a sell because price is inside what? A left shoulder from here. Right? This left shoulder area becomes what? My 4-hour zone, where I'm taking myself from, where I'm countering from. And now this 4-hour level now, you can see that this 4-hour level is not on the same area as any daily. Price is just there. So yeah, I cannot expect what? A rejection from anywhere, because there's no rejection except price gets up here. Like this is the next daily that could give us a rejection. This one can't give any rejection. Yeah, so I'm not expecting what? I'm not anticipating a storyline change. You feel me? So, what's the topic? What's the topic?
So what was the logic? Like 4 hour QML was the logic?
4-hour
Because
what?
we were not, you just marked it now, that
Um,
QML,
type your question. Type your
QML entry.
Okay, yeah, okay. The logic behind me choosing that level, right? The logic
Yes,
behind the
yes.
4-hour level from there for my counter trade, right? Is that what you're asking? The logic behind this counter trade here. Is that your question? Hello? Okay, so let me show you the logic behind that. Right. First of all, let me look at the topic we have for today. Let me know if I'm going off grid. Okay. So, okay. I've talked about using multiple time frames, right? Daily and weekly, how we can use both of them. When the daily is bullish, weekly is bearish, you focus on the daily bullish, on the daily storyline first, and then once the daily and the weekly are on the same place, they are aligned together, then before you can trade the weekly storyline, because what daily has to finish its storyline before the weekly. Even though weekly is stronger than daily, But once the daily storyline changes, right, then what happens? You can what? Look at the daily for sales, right? If the weekly is bullish, daily is bearish, you can look for the dailies to sell, right? But those sales would be to what? Get to an area where the daily can turn back and what? Be on the same time frame as the weekly. So that's said and done, right? And that's the same thing with counter trades. When the daily is bullish and you are countering on the 4 hour, right? You are countering for a reason to sell off till price gets to a level where it can continue what buying again in the daily bullish storyline. Except, except, and that's where we have the counter and pro trend, except price, right, is having that 4 hour level you are selling from inside the daily, and you have the whole market structure reason to anticipate a storyline to start from there. Because why? The storyline for a storyline to start, there has to be a daily rejection for a daily storyline. And that's the same thing with what? With what? When the weekly is bullish, the daily is bearish. Because if the daily is bearish, the weekly is bullish, and you are selling, right? You are selling to a point where you can continue being bullish again. But imagine a case where the weekly and the daily has a level on the same that daily that the daily area you are looking for your bullish storyline from, right, is inside of the weekly. So now you can take that daily bullish storyline in anticipation that what the weekly also changes. So you can see the correlation here, right? Daily pairs with 4 hour, weekly pairs with daily. And that's just how it is. So, and that's the same thing leads us to other obstacles and roadblocks, because also it's the same thing. If the weekly storyline is what? Bullish, daily resistances are your roadblocks, your obstacles. Yeah. So, and when any daily resistance happens to change a daily storyline, what do you look for? You look for that storyline to last up until what? We hit a daily support that could what? Turn price back to be on the same storyline as the weekly for you to continue buying. Same thing with what? Daily and 4 hour. When daily is bullish and you look at the 4 hour resistance and you want to sell from there, what you're looking for is what? Sell all the way to a point where we can continue buying again since the daily is bullish. Except that 4 hour is with the daily, then you can anticipate if you have market structure and everything in place, you can anticipate that what? This area is strong enough to change the storyline. And if a storyline actually starts after you've sold, then what? It gives you more confluence. Hope everything is clear. I've explained all of this on the chart. So let me just do more explanations before we close for the day. And we're going to revisit this topic tomorrow's class. And for Monday, we'll go to market structure so you guys can understand everything even properly. So let me complete what I was saying here. So the reason for this sell is because what? I was taking from the 4 hour level. And why was I taking that from the 4 hour level? Is because we had what? Look at this carefully. We had what? A low. We had what? A low, right? Then a high, then a low and a high. And price breaks this low, then this becomes what? Liquidity, right? Now, if this is how it is, price breaks this low, and this becomes what? Your liquidity. Now, this is market structure playing out here. So, this is what? My break, which is what? A shift in structure. And then this is what? My liquidity, right? So when I first saw this, my first impression was with this market structure reason now, I could sell from this. I could sell from this resistance here. This was my first impression when I saw this, sell from this resistance, right? And that was my first markup, which I sent out on the group. No, not this one, not this one. Sell from this resistance here. I think this was a 4 hour on a different time frame. If I check, maybe let's check. Okay, let's check. Okay. Okay, I think this was a 4 hour on this time frame. So this was why I was looking at this. There you have to sell from. Okay, this level 4 hour, let's see. No, 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 not this one. Wanda. Let's see. All right. Yeah, my marking is still there. So you can see my marking is still right there. So this was the resistance I was looking out for. This one here. Now, why am I looking at this resistance as my counter zone? Why did I look at this resistance as my counter zone in the first place? It was because I looked at that because the structure I marked, the break of structure from here, and the liquidity from here. Then, with the market structure confluence, I said, okay, you know what? We could get some sales from here that could push price to clear up some liquidities before we turn bullish yet again, right? But when price didn't come there, I saw that, okay, price used the level that was just right above our liquidity, which is the left shoulder. And that left shoulder is also 4 hour, is also inside the 4 hour, this, you feel me, the 4 hour support break become resistance. So when I saw that, what did I just do? I just look for what? Break of structure and continue selling, right? I took my next entry because of this. Let me just go here. After saying that, I took my next entry because of this. Okay, let's go back. Let's see. Okay, I took next entry because of this structure here. Low, high, low, high, low, high, shift, liquidity, and this area. So this is where I took my next entry. And then my next entry was due to on the 5 minute time frame. 5 minute time frame. We had same logic again, a shift in structure, then liquidity and my zone. So this was why I took the next entry and I was selling. Now, all these sales were just taking sales, not in anticipation for a storyline to start, but just to clear out some liquidities. Because daily and weekly being bullish means buys are stronger. Buyers are stronger than sellers. And there was no daily resistance to reject anything to start a storyline. So I was simply buying as a way to push price lower to clear some liquidities, right? So that was just a counter trade, right? A short counter trade. I'm not countering to anticipate the storylines to a storyline starting. Hope you guys are understanding me. I was not countering to anticipate a storyline starting. So that was the reason why I was taking this, right? So my trade from here was because we had this left shoulder here. That was why I was like, okay, the left shoulder could give us a small counter trade to clear out. My initial target was to clear out even this liquidity out here. Yeah, so we can take a trade to clear out some liquidities out there, right? So that was how I took this trade with the storyline and everything. Storyline, weekly and daily bullish. I was countering to wipe out some liquidities. But then, if you look at the daily, you could see that what do we do here? Daily open close here, right? Daily open close here. We rejected the first time. After the first rejection, did we start a storyline? No. Then we rejected the second time, and you can see the rejection the second time. Like I said in the previous class, that if you have a support that was rejected or a resistance that was rejected, but no storyline start, which means no breakout, if price comes back to that same level and reject it again, right? The last level price the last A formation or V formation that was created before the most recent tap of that support, before the most recent rejection, is your level for your breakout. So on this one, price taps the first time, no breakout. Second time, we tap even deeper. And after the second tap, where is our most recent A formation? Okay, most recent A formation right here. So after this break, strong bullish storyline started. Now, with this strong bullish storyline starting now, after this break, with the strong bullish storyline starting, what do you see next? Price came back for what? The next day, we tap what? Daily support for the buys. Daily support the next day. Price taps on the daily support, and of course, you already know what's going to happen next. Now, for the person asking about how the storyline played out on NFP day, now you can see already we started the bullish storyline, then price came back and taps what on the daily support the next day, and we start buying, right? Of course, everything here you have to look at market structure and all to get good reasons for your trade, because yeah. So that was how you would have taken the NFP trade. You buy here. I think NFP was around this time. So already that would have cleared out your bias for you to know, okay, I'm bullish and I'm buying. We are bullish today. So let's buy. And if you decide to look at market structure reason, you can also see that we had a break of structure here. And the liquidity here. Then we had what? This support from here. So that was the main reason why price tapped even deeper into this daily support. So when you buy here, you could anticipate what the bullish storyline to start from there, and you have your reason. No, for structure shift, price has to break the week, right? Price has to break the week. The week of the level has to break, right? So they'll break out for storylines, and the breakout for market structure is not the same thing. For a structure shift, price has to break the week, right? So, but the breakout for storyline, price has to break from the body. So it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, right? It's not the same thing. Yes. So you won't understand it with one class, but you have to backtest. You have to go and stay with the chart, watch the video again, and backtest, and you will definitely understand what the message I'm trying to pass across to you, right? So, and that was why NFP on this day was what we were bullish on NFP on this day. But my major trade was this trade from here. Yeah, that was my major trade for the week. And that was my major trade for this week, this one from here. So that's like a clean view of so what could you expect next week on price? Next week, you could expect price to what? To give you more buys because we are bullish. Maybe next week we could be expecting an all-time high next week because we are bullish. Except price decides to make it to this resistance and stall a bit from this resistance. They're around a bit from here, maybe weekly and daily level. Price plays around a bit, but I'm expecting a new all-time high. So that's it with the storyline. So we are going to touch on this topic more, and tomorrow we'll have like a question and answer class for this particular topic, so I can answer all your questions before we move on to the next topic, right? So I've taught you guys how to use storylines when there are multiple time frame. I've taught you guys how to counter and how to take pro trend trades, and also roadblocks and obstacles. obstacles. This is also going to be one time frame below. Like I said, the weekly goes with daily, the daily goes with 4 hour. So hope you guys are flowing with me. So you have to watch this video again and practice for you to understand properly. So yeah, so that's why price is buying. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said right now. That price is approaching the weekly A formation resistance, and that could possibly be what a roadblock for us. That could possibly be a roadblock. But still, nonetheless, I still expect price to give us an all-time high. But if this area decides to be a good roadblock, because there's been a 4 hour break, 4 hour breakout already. So this area could do some moves before price breaks the high. But let's see how it plays out next week. Hope you guys are understanding. Let's see how it plays out next week. So I will send out the recording to you guys so you guys can watch it again. Tomorrow is most likely going to be question and answer class. So I've answered your question on how to define a level that's inside another level, right? And I've also answered your question on how you would have taken the buys on NFP, right? You just using the storyline, this is how you would have taken your buys on NFP using storyline, right? To determine your direction. Weekly storyline is bullish, daily storyline is also bullish. And given the fact that the daily started a fresh bullish storyline from here, so that's enough more reason for more buys. Also, we started another storyline from here because this support, we did a daily, reject daily. And on the 4 hour, there's definitely going to be a breakout on the 4 hour. If we check, and yes, we have one. We have a breakout on the 4 hour. You can see there was another breakout on the 4 hour. So with all of this, price suggests what more push to the upside. So this, all of these storylines being started from here can only end at this daily resistance. So they can't end in between this area. Price must reach here before the storyline ends. And if price reaches this area, right? So we can either take a fresh, like I said, you have three options. Either you take a fresh entry, right? With market structure, liquidity, you enter from there, or you wait for what? The daily to start a bearish storyline. Mind you, weekly also have a level there. Now, would you wait for the weekly to reach there, tap there, and wait till Friday, next week Friday, for the weekly candle to close for you to see if it's a rejection or not? Of course not. When you can just wait for the daily to close and you know if it's going to give you a daily bearish storyline, and then you work with the daily bearish storyline in anticipation that by Friday the weekly should have closed, and if it rejected, and if you have a weekly bearish, then if the weekly turns bearish, means daily and weekly on the same page, we can experience bigger sales next week. So hope that's clear. Hope it's clear. Any question before I end the session? Any question? No questions? All right, let me end the session right now. Yes, of course, it will be included in the recording. I'll include both sessions in the recording. I'll merge both into one and send out.